The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Clarence's house as Queen Camilla stood before her extensive wardrobe, preparing for another day of royal duties. She had grown accustomed to the weight of her new title, but nothing could have prepared her for what was about to unfold in the quiet sanctuary of her private chambers. Captain James Morrison of the King's Guard had been assigned to conduct a routine security sweep of the royal residences. It was a standard procedure that occurred monthly, ensuring the safety of the royal family. Morrison, a decorated officer with 15 years of service, had performed these inspections countless times without incident. His reputation for thoroughness and discretion had earned him the trust of the palace staff and the royal family themselves. On this particular Tuesday morning, Morrison entered Queen Camilla's private quarters with his usual methodical approach. The room exuded elegance, with cream-colored walls, adorned with carefully selected artwork and antique furniture that spoke of centuries of royal heritage. The wardrobe itself was a magnificent mahogany structure, standing nearly 8 feet tall and stretching across an entire wall of the dressing room. As Morrison began his inspection, checking for any potential security vulnerabilities or hidden devices, he noticed something peculiar about one section of the wardrobe. The wood paneling appeared slightly different in texture and color compared to the rest of the structure. His trained eye, sharpened by years of security work, detected what others might have overlooked entirely. Queen Camilla had been in the adjacent bathroom when she heard the sound of furniture being moved. Concerned, she called out to inquire about the noise. Morrison's voice carried through the doorway as he explained his discovery of what appeared to be a concealed compartment within the wardrobe structure. Intrigued and somewhat apprehensive, Camilla emerged from the bathroom wearing her silk dressing gown, her hair still wrapped in a towel from her morning routine. She approached the wardrobe where Morrison stood, his gloved hands carefully examining the wooden panel that had caught his attention. "Your Majesty," Morrison said respectfully, "I believe there's a hidden section here. The craftsmanship suggests it was designed to be discreet, possibly dating back several decades. Would you like me to investigate further?" Camilla's curiosity overcame any initial hesitation. She had lived in various royal residences for years, but this particular wardrobe had come with Clarence's house when she and Charles had moved in. The thought that it might contain forgotten treasures or historical artifacts excited her sense of discovery. With careful precision, Morrison located the mechanism that opened the concealed compartment. The panel slid away silently, revealing a space approximately 3 feet wide and 4 feet deep. The interior was lined with cedar and contained several items wrapped in what appeared to be acid-free tissue paper and protective cloth covers. The first item Morrison carefully extracted was a leather-bound journal with the royal seal embossed on its cover. The leather had maintained its rich burgundy color despite its apparent age. Camilla recognized immediately that this was no ordinary diary, but something of significant historical importance. As Morrison continued to carefully remove items from the hidden compartment, they discovered a collection of personal letters tied with faded blue ribbon, several pieces of jewelry wrapped in velvet pouches, and what appeared to be official documents sealed with wax bearing the royal coat of arms. But it was the final item that would change everything they thought they knew about royal history. Wrapped in multiple layers of silk and protective covering was something that made both Camilla and Morrison pause in absolute astonishment. The weight and texture suggested fabric of the highest quality, and the careful preservation indicated its tremendous importance. Camilla's hands trembled slightly as she helped Morrison carefully unwrap the mysterious package. Layer by layer, they peeled away the protective coverings until the contents began to reveal themselves. The fabric that emerged was of such exquisite craftsmanship that it could only have belonged to someone of the highest royal status. The morning light streaming through the windows caught the golden threads woven throughout the material, creating an almost ethereal glow that filled the room. Both Camilla and Morrison stood in silent reverence, understanding that they had stumbled upon something extraordinary that had been hidden away for reasons they were only beginning to comprehend. As the full scope of their discovery became apparent, Camilla realized that this find would require immediate attention from royal historians, conservators, and possibly even members of the royal household who specialized in ceremonial regalia. The implications of what they had found could potentially reshape understanding of recent royal history. Morrison, maintaining his professional composure despite his amazement, suggested that they should secure the area and notify the appropriate authorities within the palace hierarchy. The discovery was far too significant to handle without proper expertise and guidance from those who understood the full weight of royal protocol and historical preservation. Camilla agreed, but not before taking a moment to appreciate the magnitude of what had just been revealed in her own private chambers. The morning that had begun so routinely had transformed into something that would be remembered and discussed for years to come. The hidden compartment had yielded its secrets after decades of concealment, and now both Camilla and Morrison found themselves as the first witnesses to whatever story these carefully preserved items were waiting to tell. The mystery of why these treasures had been hidden away, and by whom, was only beginning to unfold. Within an hour of the discovery, Clarence House buzzed with quiet but urgent activity. Dr. Margaret Sheffield, the royal archivist, arrived with her team of conservators and historians. Her silver hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her keen eyes showed the excitement of someone who had devoted her life to preserving royal history. She had served the monarchy for over 30 years and had never encountered anything quite like this situation. The room had been cleared of all unnecessary personnel, leaving only Camilla, Morrison, Dr. Sheffield, and 2 trusted conservators. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation as Dr. Sheffield carefully examined each item that had been removed from the hidden compartment. The leather journal proved to be the first major revelation. As Dr. Sheffield gently opened its pages, wearing white cotton gloves to protect the delicate parchment, she discovered handwritten entries in elegant script. The dates corresponded to the late 1950s and early 1960s, a period of significant transition in royal history. These appear to be personal reflections from someone very close to the royal family, Dr. Sheffield murmured as she carefully turned the pages. The entries spoke of private ceremonies, family discussions, and preparations for events that weren't recorded in official royal chronicles. The intimate nature of the writing suggested it came from someone with unprecedented access to royal inner circles. Meanwhile, the second conservator, Thomas Whitman, was carefully examining the official documents. His expertise in historical royal paperwork made him invaluable in situations like these. As he broke the wax seals with surgical precision, his expression grew increasingly serious. "Your Majesty," Whitman said carefully, "these documents appear to be correspondence between Buckingham Palace and various government officials. The dates suggest they relate to preparations for Queen Elizabeth II's coronation ceremony, but there are details here that weren't included in any public records." Camilla leaned forward with interest. The coronation of her late mother-in-law had been one of the most documented events in modern royal history. Yet these papers suggested there were aspects of the preparation that had been deliberately kept private. The letters tied with blue ribbon revealed themselves to be deeply personal communications between Queen Elizabeth II and an unnamed confidant. The handwriting was unmistakably that of the late Queen, though the tone was more informal and revealing than anything in her official correspondence. These letters discussed doubts, fears, and private thoughts about the enormous responsibility she was about to undertake as a young woman ascending to the throne. But it was when Dr. Sheffield began to carefully examine the main fabric discovery that the true significance of the find became apparent. As she gently unfolded the material, her breath caught audibly. The fabric revealed itself to be crimson velvet of the highest quality, adorned with intricate gold embroidery and precious gemstones arranged in patterns that were unmistakably regal. "This is extraordinary," Dr. Sheffield whispered, her professional composure cracking slightly. "The craftsmanship, the materials, the design elements, this appears to be a ceremonial robe of the highest order. The gold work alone would have taken master craftsmen months to complete." Camilla studied the robe more closely, noting details that spoke of royal significance. The embroidered patterns included symbols of the Commonwealth nations, intertwined with traditional English roses and Scottish thistles. The gemstones were genuine precious stones, sapphires, rubies, and emeralds, set with the skill of the finest royal jewelers. Morrison, who had been quietly observing the examination, spoke up with a question that had been troubling him. "Dr. Sheffield, if this robe was made for the coronation, why wasn't it used? Why was it hidden away instead?" Dr. Sheffield continued her careful examination before responding. "That's precisely what we need to determine. The quality and symbolism suggest this was indeed created for the coronation ceremony, but historical records show Queen Elizabeth II wore a different robe. The question is why this one was set aside and hidden." As the team continued their investigation, they discovered maker's marks sewn discreetly into the lining of the robe. These indicated the involvement of Norman Hartnell, the renowned designer who had created Queen Elizabeth II's coronation gown. The presence of his workshop's signature confirmed that this was no replica or ceremonial copy, but an authentic piece commissioned for the royal coronation. Thomas Whitman had been cross-referencing the documents with known historical records when he made another startling discovery. Among the papers was a memorandum from palace officials dated just weeks before the coronation ceremony. The memo discussed concerns about certain design elements of the original ceremonial robe and the decision to commission a replacement. "It appears," Whitman explained to the assembled group, "that there were last-minute concerns about some of the symbolism incorporated into this robe. The documents suggest that certain political and religious sensitivities led to the decision to create an alternative design for the actual ceremony." The implications were staggering. They had discovered not just any ceremonial robe, but what appeared to be Queen Elizabeth II's original coronation robe. The one that was supposed to have been worn during the most important ceremony of her reign, but was instead hidden away for reasons that were only now beginning to emerge. Dr. Sheffield carefully photographed every detail of the robe, while her team documented the other discoveries. Each photograph would need to be studied by experts in royal regalia, textile history, and ceremonial protocol. The find represented a missing piece of coronation history that had been deliberately concealed. Camilla found herself deeply moved by the discovery. Holding pieces of history that connected so directly to her late mother-in-law's most significant moment created an unexpected emotional connection. The young woman, who had worn the crown with such grace and dignity, had also experienced the very human emotions revealed in these hidden letters and artifacts. As the morning stretched into afternoon, it became clear that this discovery would require extensive investigation. The robe would need to be conserved properly, the documents would need to be authenticated and studied by historians, and the reasons for concealing these items would need to be carefully researched. The question that haunted everyone in the room was who had hidden these treasures and why. The careful preservation suggested someone with deep respect for their historical importance, yet the secrecy implied that there were compelling reasons to keep them from public view. Dr. Sheffield made the recommendation that the discovery should remain confidential until they could fully understand its historical significance and implications. The find was too important to risk damage through premature exposure or misinterpretation. As the experts carefully rewrapped and secured each item, Camilla realized that her quiet morning had uncovered a mystery that connected her directly to one of the most important moments in modern British royal history. The hidden compartment had protected its secrets for over 60 years, and now those secrets were finally ready to tell their story. 3 weeks after the initial discovery, Dr. Sheffield's research team had uncovered the remarkable truth behind the hidden Coronation Robe. Working around the clock with historians from Cambridge University, textile experts from the Victoria and Albert Museum, and former palace staff who had served during the 1950s, they had pieced together a story that revealed the deep personal struggles behind one of Britain's most celebrated royal ceremonies. The investigation led them to Lady Margaret Thornton, now 94 years old and living quietly in a cottage in the Cotswolds. As Queen Elizabeth II's former lady-in-waiting and closest confidant during the coronation period, Lady Thornton held the key to understanding why the robe had been hidden away for over 6 decades. Camilla personally visited Lady Thornton, accompanied by Dr. Sheffield. The elderly woman's eyes sparkled with recognition when she saw the carefully preserved robe photographs. Sitting in her cozy parlor, surrounded by photographs spanning decades of royal service, Lady Thornton finally shared the secret she had kept for so long. "The Queen was terrified," Lady Thornton began, her voice still strong despite her advanced age. "People saw her as this confident young monarch, but privately she was overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility. That robe represented everything she feared about failing her people and the Commonwealth." The original robe had been designed with intricate symbolism, representing not just Britain, but every nation of the Commonwealth. Each gemstone had been carefully selected to represent different territories and peoples who would look to the young queen for leadership. The craftsmanship was extraordinary, but the symbolism had become a source of anxiety for Elizabeth. She would stare at that robe and see the faces of millions of people depending on her, Lady Thornton continued. The weight of their expectations felt heavier than the physical weight of the crown itself. She told me she felt unworthy of wearing something so magnificent when she felt so uncertain inside. The documents found in the hidden compartment revealed the depth of Elizabeth's private struggles. Her letters spoke of sleepless nights, overwhelming responsibility, and the fear of disappointing the nation that was placing such faith in her. The young woman who appeared so composed in public was wrestling with profound self-doubt in private. Dr. Sheffield had also discovered that the decision to create a replacement robe had come at Elizabeth's own request. Working secretly with Norman Hartnell, she had commissioned a simpler design that still maintained appropriate regal dignity but carried less symbolic weight. The original robe, too precious and meaningful to destroy, had been carefully preserved and hidden away. "She made me promise to keep it safe," Lady Thornton revealed. "She said that perhaps one day, when enough time had passed, someone would find it and understand that even queens are human. She wanted future generations to know that courage isn't the absence of fear, but acting despite that fear." The personal letters in the hidden compartment told the complete story. Elizabeth had written to Lady Thornton about her decision, explaining that she needed to face her coronation day with strength, rather than being overwhelmed by symbols of expectation. The replacement robe allowed her to focus on the ceremony's spiritual significance, rather than being distracted by anxiety about living up to the elaborate symbolism. Thomas Whitman's analysis of the documents revealed another touching detail. Elizabeth had specifically requested that the original robe be preserved for her descendants, hoping it might serve as a reminder that royal duty, while magnificent, comes with very human struggles and emotions. The discovery had profound implications for how the coronation would be remembered. Rather than diminishing the ceremony's significance, it revealed the remarkable courage of a young woman who recognized her own limitations and found ways to overcome them while still honoring her responsibilities. Camilla found herself deeply moved by this revelation about her late mother-in-law. The woman she had known as a figure of unwavering strength and dignity had once been a frightened young person, struggling with the same kinds of doubts that anyone might face when confronted with overwhelming responsibility. Dr. Sheffield recommended that the robe and accompanying documents be properly displayed in a special exhibition that would honor both the craftsmanship and the human story behind the discovery. The exhibition would reveal how Queen Elizabeth II's wisdom and self-awareness had led to a decision that ultimately strengthened rather than weakened her ability to serve her people. The story resonated far beyond royal circles. When carefully selected details were eventually shared with the public, people around the world found inspiration in the idea that even the most seemingly confident leaders face moments of uncertainty. Elizabeth's choice to acknowledge her fears while still fulfilling her duties became a powerful example of authentic leadership. Lady Thornton expressed relief at finally sharing the secret she had carried for so long. She was wise beyond her years, the elderly lady-in-waiting reflected. She understood that sometimes the greatest strength comes from acknowledging our vulnerabilities and finding ways to work with them rather than being paralyzed by them. The hidden compartment in Camilla's wardrobe had yielded more than historical artifacts. It had revealed a profound truth about courage, leadership, and the humanity that exists even within the most elevated positions. The young woman who had worried about wearing a robe had grown into a monarch whose reign would be remembered for its steadiness, wisdom, and grace. Captain Morrison, whose keen observation had started the entire discovery, was commended for his role in uncovering this important piece of royal history. His attention to detail had revealed a story that enriched understanding of one of Britain's most beloved monarchs. The original Coronation Robe, now properly conserved and displayed, serves as a testament to Queen Elizabeth II's wisdom and humanity. Rather than being a symbol of weakness or failure, it represents the kind of thoughtful decision-making that characterized her entire reign. The robe that was too magnificent to wear became, in the end, the most meaningful artifact of all. Camilla often reflects on the morning when her routine security inspection transformed into a journey of historical discovery. The hidden treasures in her wardrobe had connected her to her predecessor in an unexpectedly intimate way, revealing that the strength she had always admired in Queen Elizabeth II came not from the absence of doubt, but from the wisdom to recognize and address it. The story of the hidden coronation robe became a powerful reminder that true leadership often requires the courage to be vulnerable, the wisdom to know one's limitations, and the strength to make difficult decisions in service of something greater than oneself. In keeping that robe hidden for 60 years, Queen Elizabeth II had created a final gift, a lesson in authentic leadership that would inspire future generations long after her reign had ended.